Wow, hello, we're back. Welcome to Technomancer Business Made Simple, episode 17. And our special guests today are OCTA Research, more specifically Professor Ranjit Rye and Dr. Guido David. And we also have Dr. Rachelle Holandez, special guest co-hosting today.
Just, balancing the...
Balancing the...
We're pretty heavy on this side. Thank you for having us, James. And hi. It's nice to see you, Rachel, again.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel. We have a burning question on our mind. It's like we see OCTA Research on the news all the time talking about COVID. And why? Why are they? Why? How did you get to be the the most quoted experts about that subject here in the Philippines? I see you in Rappler. I see you in CNN Asia. I see you in GMA. I see you in Channel 2, ABS. How did that happen?
First of all, I think we have to disabuse the word expert. No? We're really people who deal with data and managing information. I can't claim to be an expert in COVID. I am a social scientist, I'm a political scientist, and I'm part of an interdisciplinary team, and that's OCTA Research, together with, which we founded together with Dr. David. And I don't know about the popular. One thing's for sure, I think there's a great need in the Philippines for people to provide data for about COVID-19 so that people can be informed. And maybe that's why we became the go-to group after the DOH, largely because we provided systematic data that was easy to understand for people. So,
just to be clear, are you guys are a private or government agency?
Okay, we're a private non-profit organization, and we started technically in 2019, okay. But the organization has been in, it was established in early part of 2018, and it was born out of a consensus among friends from the University of the Philippines that there was a need for us to build an organization that dealt with policy studies, that also provided public opinion research, and that was interdisciplinary, where people from the sciences and the social sciences can come together to exercise their their initiatives towards public service. So this is a public service organization. It's a non-profit organization. We're not here to make money. What we are doing is actually, as UP professors, we're supposed to devote 20% of our time to public service. So we decided to build an organization where we could devote all of that mandated voluntary work. Okay, and so that's why OCTA Research was born. That's why OCTA Research was conceptualized, largely as a public service organization.
So it really started off as a policy and research group, and then when COVID hit, was that when Guido joined, or he was there even before that?
Yeah, actually, I was part of the organization when it was conceptualized by Ranjit. I mean, I remember even way back, like maybe 5 years ago, he was already talking about developing something like RCP in the US, if you're familiar with Real Clear Politics, which is something like a statistical aggregator, and it's something that I use as a reference personally when I'm looking at US elections. So who's leading in the Real Clear Politics aggregator? But when COVID hit, the organization wasn't really operational yet. And what happened was there were some groups that were, let's say, organized to study COVID. And one was a group in UP. It's called the UP COVID-19 Pandemic Response Team, which includes a group of excellent researchers and faculty in UP. And then I didn't get to be part of that because I was initially going to be part of it, but I was kind of slow coming off the gate. So, but once they started doing these models, we thought that, hey, maybe we could add to the discussion. Maybe present a different model because the models are there's no mathematical model that you can say is correct. So, it helps to have a different perspective. So there were teams from Ateneo, from UP, from AIM, so all these groups. And then we started doing it like a study group. I mean, Professor Ranjit and I, and then there were a few others. Initially, it was a small group. We just published these reports that largely went unnoticed for most of the part, mostly unnoticed. So, but it was sometime later, after we made some projections, I think it was around June, media was starting to make notice of our findings. And then I think there was a projection that we made that was sort of publicized in media, which they said turned out to be correct. And after that, I think the government got to notice that, particularly spokesperson Harry Roque, and there was this next projection that Harry Roque said, "We beat UP," and that was really the start of things started, gaining traction in terms of our reports.
So it looks like your projections were, on the most part, accurate, and then it became like a milestone that they wanted to beat to show that they were doing a better than expected job.
When he said we beat UP, did he mean UP or UP OCTA?
Okay, that's kind of confusing. Yeah, that was a key problem starting out. When we started as a study group, the intent was OCTA would pay for the researchers, which it did, and the goal was to generate information to complement initiatives in the university. Now, we wanted to just name our group, Ryan, David, but or even just a UP research team.
Yeah, like Lennon and McCarthy.
Yeah, Lennon and McCarthy. Yeah, okay, that's Lennon and McCarthy. But the thing is, the key problem was there were so many groups in UP doing the same thing. So we decided, why don't we ask permission and say, and I did inform the president and the chancellor at the time, we're just going to name it OCTA after OCTA's paying for some of the researchers. And there was no problem because it was public service. But later we found out as we became more immersed in the advocacy of providing, data to update, the everyday Filipino about the state of COVID-19 in the country, that we needed to divorce ourselves from UP. It became very problematic for us because we also wanted to shield the institution from our strong positions on issues. Now, what made us different from other data analytics groups was really our policy recommendations. And why policy recommendations for a data group? Well, because we're social scientists as well as scientists. So the contribution of the social scientists in the group was to try to look at the data and see the policy implications for government. And we made some very strong positions. And by July, it became clear that we needed to, separate our identity from the university. And not because the university didn't want us. I think the university was the reason why OCTA evolved in the first place. Our president, Danny Concepcion, the president of the University of the Philippines, encouraged all scientists to contribute. It's a national effort. COVID is a national effort in a sense. No? Everybody has to contribute, and he made it very clear he would provide support to anyone or any group that would use the resources of UP in the service of the country at this particular time. And it was a big, it's a crisis. No? When we started in March 2020, we didn't know where the research agenda would lead us or what our focus was. But we decided, because Professor David, because he has no social life, was actually writing a paper on the model we were using, right? Yeah, that was the
first paper.
The SIR model, And while he was doing that, we both decided, why don't we make use of the model and see how it goes. So that was why by July, September, we decided to separate from UP, and it was the first time we decided to formalize the group in a legal, formal way. We actually got a mayor's permit, so we didn't even know how to get that, so we got it. And we felt that no more UP, no more, UP kasi is our home. This is this is where we were born, we were raised, and where we decided to spend our lives in. And UP was a sort of home and protection for us. But now we decided, because we want to protect UP also, and we wanted to advocate strongly to protect people from COVID. Very clear policies that were most of the time against government policies, to separate and put up an independent research organization called OCTA. And from September to this time, is how we are.
So you say protect UP. That implies there's something to protect them from. Which implies you're implying some kind of backlash or something.
Yeah, when you do research, it's par for the, it's natural that when you take a strong position and you use data, science-based data to back up your policies. And I don't know, it seemed that this is a practice done for ages, but because of COVID, the media started, trying to get information about COVID, and trying to get information that's accessible and easy to understand, and that's how maybe OCTA became noticed. But we also included policy recommendations, and that's why we wanted to inform the public that our own positions were the positions of OCTA, and does not reflect at any time the position of the University of the Philippines, or in this case, the University of Santo Tomas. So that's why we want to be clear. We always disclaimed on paper, but it's never really clear in media that we're separate.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to separate.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah, we need to separate formally. So while we're still working in UP, and we're proud to be UP people, we're a separate organization that has nothing to do with UP.
Do you have any practical backlash incidents that happened with you? Do you have a student running up to you and or berating you in public? Does that happen?
Not students, they're very supportive. Actually, most people in UP are supportive of our initiative. But at the same time, when you make strong policy recommendations, when you have a surge, it's usually a decision of balancing economy and public health. And sometimes when you make a recommendation, there will be some people who might not like your recommendation because it might lean towards one or towards the other.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult balancing act. And I always say that, I don't envy the job of the interagency task force, because it's very difficult how do you choose this balance? It's something that you can model mathematically, optimizing between these two. It's something that is highly subjective. I'll give you some examples. Many countries choose to prioritize the economy. For example, Sweden decided not to have lockdowns, but it has cost them, public health crisis, and that affected their country as well. So, but other countries have perhaps prioritized or were able to do a good balance. For example, Taiwan, I think, without really resorting to a very strict lockdown, they were able to balance public health. And
they did a lockdown at the ports of entry, right?
Yeah, I think so. But we have our challenges because we can't do lockdowns at port of entry because of our OFW. So there's a lot of things we have to balance. And at some point, when you make a recommendation, there will be some groups or some advocacy groups which will not be happy with this. So you might please some groups, but offend other groups. So it's really hard to find the middle ground, I think.
Yeah, so in a sense, what Professor David is saying, there are winners and losers in policy, in the game of policy making. And when you do policy recommendations, there are people that are going to get hurt by your recommendation. And we felt that we had to bear that responsibility and should not at any time have any impact on the institutions that we work with. And we had people from UST working with us, Father Nick Austriaco, Dr. Benjamin Ko, and we didn't want our institutions to be affected by the advocacies that we were a part of. So, and OCTA is, in a sense, it's not just a data analytics group. It's also an advocacy group. So we did advocate for lockdowns. We did advocate for things that were unpopular. Yeah, but being popular was never part of our mandate. We just wanted to do the right thing. So I think by and large, we have been reasonable. By and large, just to answer your first question, we've been on the dot. We've been fairly accurate as far as our projections are concerned, and I think that's why people believe us.
Right. It's, I don't know, parang you were saying that when you make policy recommendations, of course, recommendations are recommendations.
Right.
You know, it's up to the consumer or the public whether they will take it or not. No? But how do you, what is OCTA's parang direction when it comes to making recommendations? All of you sit down and or because you have scientists, you have social scientists. How do you kind of get people to be on the same page?
And are there 8 of you sitting down?
Yeah, because
together?
it's OCTA. Why is it
we had
OCTA?
20 at one point.
Right.
So where did OCTA come?
Yeah, we have several doctors in the group.
Yeah.
Infectious disease specialists, some other medical doctors, other scientists from UP as well, and of course one of our more prominent members is Father Nicanor Austriaco, who joined us sometime in July of last
2020,
year,
yeah.
right? Because he heard, of us through the media as well, and he thought he wanted to help. He's an American actually, Phil, and he's a priest and he's a scientist and he's everything combined. He has an MBA. So yeah. And regarding the decision making, Ranjit will add to this, but it's more of a consensus. I mean, we don't, of course, sit down like this. I mean, it's more like we have an online meeting.
Maybe we should now because the infections are down. Maybe it's time for us to sit down like this. We never really sat down together since we started in March 2020.
Maybe you should.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's only like virtual meetings, discussions, and we're not always on the same page. Like we say. I mean, but we're usually over on the side towards public health because we have a lot of doctors on our team. So we admit that our recommendations are usually slanted towards the public health aspect, and we're not claiming to be experts on economy. So when some people say, well, we're just saying that this is what our perspective is on the basis of public health.
I think the key value is value for life. No, yes, we understand that there's a need to balance lives and livelihoods, but OCTA's bias has always been for life. No, and maybe that has also gotten us into trouble as far as government position is concerned, because we very strongly advocated protection of citizens, that the citizens first before anything else. That the economy is important, yes, but that every single life is also, and that balance is should be tilted in favor always of life. And so we've taken extremely controversial positions, and when we decide, it's really a big debate. Guido's being very nice, but actually it's like the university council, and there were just 20 people there. And some people actually walk out of the, if that's what you say, walk out of the virtual room. Some people take their names off the reports, and literally it becomes very passionate. But it's never personal. And just recently we had a big debate. It was kind of and it's good for an organization, an academic organization, to always have that kind of healthy, open, and academic discussion. Collegial, we decide as a collegial body, just like any academic or scientific group.
Yeah.
And that's how we do things. Nobody unilaterally decides for the group. So everybody goes through a process of consulting. Even the key messages, we talk to each other constantly. Yeah.
One thing that doesn't get brought up, I know you guys brought up the health, but I have 2 sons and they're in school, and we have my coworkers here in our tech field. We're still working, thank goodness, because that allows for remote work. But we noticed there seems to be higher rates of where people just burn out or can't. Just they need to step back and scale back. And even my sons who are in school, they've reported that there are classes where no one goes. It's just, I'm sorry, this is sad to say, but the teacher will be talking and, I'm sure they know this. There's some students they turn off their camera and they're playing.
And they watch K-drama while they're
playing video games, right? And I know...
Guido does that on faculty meetings also, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah,
I also know people who like they skip years. I mean, what's the cost of that? I mean, what do you guys think about that, right?
yeah, it's really hard. COVID-19 has changed the way we do things, and you know, my kids have been in the house for almost 2 years now,
Yeah.
and I have a son who's in high school, and basically I didn't experience 2 years of high school, and pretty soon he's going to graduate. So we're going to have a whole, you know, a generation of, well, not a generation, but a significant number, yeah, of children who are going to have some socialization issues when they start getting out into a world that's post-COVID, you know, and post-normal. But that's a challenge. In fact, right now we're talking about, I think, the government policy for face-to-face, you know, limited. It's still limited face-to-face classes. It's hard because there's we've seen the experience in other countries, and it was not easy, and it did lead to surges. It did lead to costs in terms of lives, no? And so while we were all excited to go back to some semblance of normality, we have to do it in a safe way. And the mental health issues, I don't know, Rachel, how do you say it's called mental health issues? Yeah. Wellness, no? Is really a big issue. 9% of adult Filipinos talked about some form of depression, mental wellness issue in our last survey, the Tugunang Masa survey of September 2021. So that's this last quarter, and that's significant. That's significant. When you have adult Filipinos complaining about what's the impact of COVID in their lives, they felt either sadness, and a segment, while it's a minority, very clearly expressed depression, and that depression is a technical term. So you know, to actually ask an interviewee how it affected you, and you have close to 9%, you know, affected by mental wellness issues. It's a real thing, and we have to deal with it. And that's why OCTA now has taken a different position, especially now that we're more of us are vaccinated, that we start calibrating the reopening of society so that we can deal with these issues. And OCTA for the last 4 months now has been at the forefront together with our new partners from the private sector to lobby for government reforms as far as COVID-19 is concerned. You know, when the situation changes, you also have to change your policies and programs. So now we're more focused on opening up, but opening up safely.
Yeah. Because Dr. Rachelle is a
Neuropsychologist.
Neuropsychologist. Okay.
Clinical psychologist.
I'm forgive me, I'm dyslexic. But in general, I have 2 questions. One is for you. Do you guys look into do you guys track that metric, like the mental health aspect? It's not just mental health, not just depression, but also like the people who are not able to work, right? I mean, that takes a toll. It's not depression, but it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. Rachelle, related to that, have you noticed any significant increases?
Well, yeah. The whole field of psychology has taken note of that, not just locally but also internationally. So, I don't know I can't say the exact percentages that they're quoting, but this is not just locally but also globally. But locally, yeah. So the webinars or the seminars, conferences that I would attend, that's been the theme for 2 years already.
Yeah.
Of course, things will change. Hopefully, because there's more awareness, and it's actually easier to access for some groups, mental health resources, because of the online environment. So we're hoping things will change. But yeah, it's really, we don't know. That's our hope. We don't know if that will actually happen. Yeah, but it's not about me. It's not about
It's also, tell us about Mike P.
But before that, when we actually went to Malacanang, the first and only time we were in,
we were in the president.
We saw.
Yeah, we had sandwiches.
When was that?
This was back in
July 15.
July of last
2020. Yeah.
Right. What we got from that was the president had a strong position that we were not going to have face-to-face classes until people were vaccinated. So on the subject of let's say face-to-face classes, over the past year, we have largely not touched the subject because of the strong position of the president. I mean, it doesn't make sense to make a recommendation if you know that it's going to be.
But I thought we're like 90% vaccinated.
In the National Capital Region, so
Right.
that's important. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this was over the past year up until the Delta surge. So we have largely untouched it. That's why we're now moving into a shift in policy recommendations, trying to calibrate the reopening of classes with balancing with the risk assessment for each region. We actually have another member, Dr. Michael T., who's also been conducting studies on the effects of COVID on mental health of children. So yeah, I think that's what.
So we're trying to get into those areas. As our fellows, I'm very proud to talk about this because we have an interdisciplinary team. We're trying to get some gender balance, but apparently we have already to some extent. But like most scientific societies, we have social scientists, we have political scientists, we have public administration people, so we're okay as far as policy is concerned. The majority of the members are from the natural sciences, like Professor David, who's from math. We have people from biology. We have people who are, and a big chunk are really doctors, practicing doctors. So we have frontliners in our team. So we have a very good view of how, the last line of defense works as far as dealing with COVID is concerned, the hospitals. So we get the best data because we have people who are actually practicing doctors, dealing with COVID, sacrificing their everyday lives just to protect, to save people. So, that's why we have a good perspective about how things are. And I think most research groups have to have that kind of interdisciplinary perspective. Because COVID is an interdisciplinary challenge. And so if your research team is only just mathematicians, nothing against mathematicians, or statisticians, it will be, there's some perspective lost. So, in that sense, that's what makes OCTA. It's unique because, when we make recommendations, we put our names on the line, and we do it every week. Yeah, almost every week. Yeah, we put our names on the line, our reputations on the line, but we're confident about it because when we decide to take a position, it's a position born out of reason, based on science, and always tends to be more holistic than most.
And your data, where does that come from? Do you get it from the hospitals give you the data?
Well, it largely comes from the data of the Department of Health. And we have we work with some local governments, so we also see some local data. And then we also, as Professor Ranjit mentioned, we also work with some doctors, or we have some doctors in the group, so they provide us also with some other data. So, but the granular data is mostly used to corroborate the data that we're seeing from the Department of Health.
Professor Ranjit mentioned surveys. You guys also do surveys?
Yeah.
You yourselves conduct the surveys?
Yes. So there are two research groups in OCTA right now. One is the COVID monitoring, the COVID research team, which monitors COVID on a regular basis. And the other one is the public opinion research team. So majority of the members are faculty members from UP. We're very proud of our COVID, COVID team and our stat team. Our stat team is mostly from the Institute of Statistics, University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So this is our Guido and I. Our goal is to be interdisciplinary, inter-university. Okay, within UP, different units of UP coming in, and also between schools. So we're hoping to invite more fellows from other universities. We have University of Santo Tomas, very strongly associated with OCTA. And we're very happy about this setup. So we want to enlarge it actually.
And you're into actuarial math, right?
No.
That was, yeah. That was back in the 90s when we were still
Undergrad, yeah.
I think when you were still working in Anderson by a free drop of information. But my field is actually biomedical engineering, which I mean I did my PhD in that, but I'm still into data science and mathematical modeling.
That's why he's you're like your concentration really is you're very good with modeling.
Well, modeling and data analytics, and that's why I help look at the numbers for the statistical surveys that we conduct.
Yeah, and Professor David is our chief data scientist, so everything goes through him in a sense, and and part of what makes OCTA also competitive is the fact that most of the scholars are from the University of the Philippines, so we have a core group from UP. And we have excellent fellows from University of Santo Tomas. Dr. Benjico is a pediatric infectious disease doctor and head of that unit in the University of Santo Tomas.
And also Asian Hospital.
And it's a teaching hospital. So and then we have also Father Nicanor Austriaco, who has finished his PhD in MIT. And in microbiology, I think, or biology, yeah.
Wow.
And is also a professor at the University of Santo Tomas. He's a visiting scholar there. And, it's incredible confluence of both persona and interests, no, that has made OCTA what it is today. So we hope that, it will continue, yeah.
Well, why OCTA Research? Why you guys, I mean, there are 20 of you. Why OCTA Research?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Story behind the name.
It's actually, I'm kidding. Actually, we started with, the idea of OCTA, which started as an idea in 2018, was really born out of the contributions of 8 people. No? Not all of them I want to mention here. Okay, but one particular person that was very strongly influential to me, aside from my dad, who encouraged me to do this when he was alive, was also the late great Dr. Roger Posadas. In fact, he was supposed to head the first board, no? But he passed away, unfortunately. But he was very, 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 how should I say, he encouraged us so much. No? And it started with me, and then of course I decided, I'd partner with my friend from kindergarten, from grade school, Professor Guido David, no? And so, and then together with another batchmate of ours, also from UPIS, Dr. Cedric Festin, Eric Malyari, we decided to put up the OCTA Research. It was a bit late, Dr. Posadas wanted to put it up in 2018. We went to the SEC, I think 2019, late 2019. Didn't do anything, until 2020 when COVID struck us, and there's this belief in OCTA that what we do as individuals, we often is our mantra, is more important than anything government does. And so we decided, we have to contribute. This nation is in crisis. I mean, we always thought about it like a war. Right? Everybody has to contribute. And since we couldn't contribute money, for anything more than, really our own expertise. So we decided, let's contribute for the sake of the country. And so that's why we decided to go forward with first the research and then finally with OCTA. So OCTA was, OCTA was a product really of the time, the COVID situation. We weren't serious about putting it up initially. We were more serious about contributing to the field of knowledge as far as COVID-19 was concerned. So we have fellows like Dr. Benjamin Vallejo, Dr. Butch Ong, who published the first journal article on COVID-19 in the country, the very first. So our group has contributed to the discourse. Our group, we are proud to say this, was the first group to advocate a regional approach to vaccination. I think we're very proud of that. I think government listened, but of course modified that. The idea that we vaccinate the metropolitan areas where COVID-19 cases are concentrated, instead of spreading the vaccine all around the country. We started advocating that January of 2020. The government recalibrated, and I think, we believe, it was the right call. Now we have 90% vaccination in the NCR, the economy is open. we knew because we didn't have enough vaccines that if we spread it out to the whole country, we won't achieve any milestone. After all, COVID was concentrated in metropolitan areas, so we lobbied and convinced government to do this. And well, government listened and they recalibrated also. We were also the first group to talk about the surges, first in August, and that was the famous meeting we had with in the cabinet where we presented the reality that there is a surge and we need to do something, and we turned out to be correct, no? And then of course again in Feb, tama? Yeah, Feb of 2021, and then later on in July. Of course, you know, doing that did not make us popular with so many people. I keep telling Guido, we're not in the business to be popular. We're here to try to do the right thing. And that's why we were in a very famous congressional investigation last September, no?
Wow.
Yeah, where Guido and I were, you know, we were in a sort of inquisition, no? But then again, I guess that's what you do. That's what happens.
We were talking about backlash earlier.
That's the backlash, yeah. But that's, I think Guido and I are clear that that's what happens when you do public service. You can't really please everyone.
So that was really something that you anticipated.
No, we did
No.
not actually. Nobody anticipates in their life to be invited to Congress in an inquisition. We were kind of, honestly, we were kind of surprised because up to that time, we thought we were doing a service to the country. But apparently, we also realized that, you know, the business segments of the business sector were also, backlash, and the government had a different perspective on things. And it's always important to hear the other side so that you can also improve the way you're doing things. And we wanted also the opportunity to explain, and Guido might want to do this, explain the model. Yeah,
Yeah, so part of the hearing was for them to understand basically the model because, well, basically the perspective is that the DOH presents different findings or different analysis, and ours is not always compatible with their own analysis. So where's the discord? But of course, like I mentioned early in this talk, that models have different analysis, different assumptions, different could have different results entirely. And actually, our model has been presented in different webinars and different meetings. Academic.
So it's been
meetings.
vetted.
So it's actually been vetted. So we were a bit surprised by the need to, discuss our own methodology in front of congressmen because, I was in a meeting with the National Academy of Science and Technology. I mean, there were many scientists there who were in the same field as I was. Another one was the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering. So, and then aside from numerous appearances in universities such as I spoke in De La Salle, in FEU, in UE,
and UP, of course,
and UP itself, of course. So where I presented the model, and I mean our models, it's not that high tech, so to speak. So it's a very bare bones type of model, but it's something that we feel is very useful, especially in the context of data that has some reliability issues or some issues with late reports or lags. Because if your model depends on so many variables and those data are are not so reliable, then your model breaks down more easily than if it were dependent on just a few variables. Now the dependence is, you have a strong dependence on this, but you can have a margin of error. But if you have more, in other words, if you as a boss, you depend on more people to get the job done, then it's more than, there's more, chances of things going on wrong than if you were just depending on one person.
If you add to that, the model was also presented to the Department of Health, not just once, but twice or thrice, no? We're, as academics, as people who, public school teachers, part of the job of doing research is presenting your research findings to a community that will not just appreciate it, but will also critique it. So we're always open to improving our extremely simple model. Simple as it is, as Guido would so nicely put it, but it's mostly accurate. Honestly, we predicted all three major surges in the country, not just days before, but weeks before. And we have, we want to offer this perspective that science is the way forward. And that's what OCTA is all about. It's about extolling the usefulness of science, and that we make policy based on data and always based on reason, nothing political, nothing personal. So, and oftentimes we get into trouble because of that, because we're trained in the university to say exactly what we mean, to mean what we say and say what we mean. But oftentimes, in the real world, you have to kind of calibrate that because the media takes it differently, and so, yeah.
And the fact that you've presented it multiple times and it's been vetted multiple times over and you've survived the Inquisition, I mean, you guys are still alive, right?
Yeah.
We're still one piece.
Yeah.
That means that
Thankfully, yeah.
that means they couldn't find, you can't really poke holes in it, right? So it's probably fine.
Yeah, Ranjit. Yeah, because maybe not anticipating the Inquisition, but where OCTA Research is now. Is this something that you kind of saw when you formed the group, or what direction were you looking at?
Honestly, Rachel, if we were thinking the Congress was giving us some sort of recommendation, not an Inquisition. Honestly,
Okay.
we're going to be invited here as a resource, people or persons to talk about COVID, but really it became about OCTA, who was funding it, what was the methodology, why were we not in sync with the Department of Health, why were we recommending things that the private sector, the mayors of Metro Manila were using, that we were a dissonant voice in the pandemic management strategy of government. But our position is very clear. All that we say can be validated by the data produced by the team of Dr. David. And like all data, you can validate it, you can look into it, and it's open. And by the way, the data we use is the same data the government does, uses. No. Number two, I think this is very important. When you're trying to contribute, trying to realize a whole of nation approach, we believe that all voices have to be heard. That in the end, all of us need to contribute because COVID is a shared responsibility, and as academics, we all have to pitch in in whatever way we can, whether it's teaching during this time of COVID or doing research like what our other colleagues are doing, or like what we are doing in OCTA, real public service in terms of providing data for free all the time to local governments, to the national government, and providing a position on issues that we feel are very strongly about. There's in this kind of situation, there's no unanimity. We don't expect, even the scientific community in UP or in UST, there's no unanimity, but there's always this solidarity that we listen to science, everything is evidence and data-based, reason is king, and that in the great scheme of things, all of us want to contribute to the national effort to manage COVID-19 in the country.
But I'll add to that. If your question is, did we envision us being in this position of, being, I would say, fairly known in the public? No, I'm just a scientist. I don't do
in the position of being interviewed right now. Okay, we didn't even envision this.
I had a friend who messaged me and said, "Hey, I saw you on Twitter." I said, "Where? Which Twitter?" Apparently, she follows you.
Yeah, actually, the only person who's famous here is Guido. He has actually a fans club,
No, I think if you go on YouTube and type Ranjit Rye, they actually have your face in there.
And you'll see all my famous and infamous things. No?
Yeah, famous and infamous all together. But no, we did not envision this. I mean, we just wanted to add to the discourse. And in fact, during the congressional meeting, they were saying, some people were asking,
why were you doing this?
Why are you, not implying, in fact, I think I read this somewhere else, not here in Congress, but why are you guys seeking attention or something to that effect?
Yeah.
But the truth is we're not actually seeking attention. And, we get interviewed by media. And sometimes, there's a lot of interviews. We don't even, answer to some of their calls sometimes.
Thank you for answering ours.
Yeah, of course. James and Rachelle, anything for Technomancer.
No, I mean sometimes we have conflicts. You can't answer an interview. Ranjit doesn't do interviews in the morning unless it's his.
I don't wake up.
Why is that?
Yeah, so you'll see, it will always be, if you notice, the OCTA spokesperson is Guido, because he wakes up early, and
it's
you'll see
usually
from all the shows in the morning, and then we'll
Until
end at
12,
10.
yes.
And maybe I'll take 1 or 2 interviews for the lunch hour, so. But,
Unless it's his favorite interviewer, which I will not mention.
Oh, okay.
Then he might wake up a little.
Then I'll negotiate with Guido. I'll take that interview.
I'll ask off camera.
Yeah, because you mentioned that, I don't know, parang you've known each other, we've all known each other for a very long time. And, listening to you talk about OCTA Research, I was thinking, oh, this is very reminiscent of Ranjit, who I know since grade school.
I've known you since grade school. I've known him since grade school.
I think this is.
I don't know this guy.
Yeah, I only remember myself in grade school. Probably smaller and thinner. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I remember your one fight that you had, but I'm not gonna talk about it on camera.
Yeah. But thank you, Rachel. But I think all of us, in some sense, are like that because we're also products of our university, the institutions we graduated. And in our case, UPIS, we've been there since kindergarten. And in the case of Guido and I, unfortunately, he's been my neighbor since I was born. I mean, we were all born and raised in UP, and while it was a big question in Congress. Why are we doing this? One congressman who's running now for a top position questioned not just my nationality, and my sense of being Filipino, but also questioned the reason why we do things. It's very simple. It's just who we are as UP graduates, diba?
We're not doing it for money.
Yeah, definitely not doing it for money.
I wish we were. I wish we were good.
I think we have to start thinking that way because
we're not doing it for money. We're not doing it for fame. It just happened. I mean, it's just that we want to help. We want to give public service, and this is what it takes.
It was a toss-up in March of 2020. It was a toss-up between spending our free time watching K-drama or convincing Guido to watch K-drama or to do this. And we decided to do this. So, we really wanted to contribute. Because we had that time. It was a weird time for all of us. March 2020, you were stuck in the house. You didn't know what was going to happen. And there was a massive lockdown of the whole society. What do you do? There was nothing. We even stopped schooling in UP. So one thing is you do research, no? The other thing is try to find some way to contribute to the national effort to fight COVID. So, we just decided, since we had no social life, that,
we didn't have social life.
Well, Ranjit, were you the one who approached Guido? Or he presented himself to you?
No, I don't know. That part, we remember most. But I think it was just really us.
It was just.
It was the two of you started.
Yeah, because it was the timing of it. I think he called me out of the blue.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm writing this paper, but it's like really a research type paper of my methodology and some of my projections. And he said, I want to look at it, and I think we can. I mean, he had a different direction. My direction was really
research.
To try to publish it in a journal, and that's it. And his direction was more visionary in that he wanted.
Visionary. What's
I mean, he wanted to add recommendations. So it was something that I'm not accustomed to because I'm just a researcher. That's what I do. I publish, and then I'm done. But his is more like for a policy type of vision, which I was not used to at that time.
Yeah, I guess we help each other because in a sense, while I am numerate, I wasn't really familiar with the kind of modeling that mathematicians did, and I realized also early on that math was going to be this discipline of math was going to be crucial to understanding this epidemic, this pandemic, and we were seeing it all over the world. The mathematicians were always in their silos. Were suddenly become the sexiest people on earth because they were coming up with models to make sense of the crisis, the global crisis that we were all experiencing. And I thought, and besides we were with OCTA together, we did have a research agenda then. So let's do this, So it was all of those things But mostly, I think the greatest influence was really our parents. Now, both our parents, dedicate their lives to public service by working in UP, and that was a big influence on us. So what can you contribute? And the nation was at war with something was so invisible at that time. It still is, but when the country is at war, you have to volunteer.
Fortunately, it looks like it's almost. I can think I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know if that's my imagination.
Yeah, because
Kind of.
right now we're averaging, so here comes the numbers. We're averaging about 700 cases per day in the whole country. And we haven't had these low numbers
Tell
since...
them how bad it was at some point.
Yeah, so, we had the first surge back in July of last year. It was the D614G variant surge. And then we had a plateau after that. And by the way, we don't just predict the surges, we also foresee the flattening of the curve. Each time we called it earlier than others did. So from around September until early February this year, we were averaging about 2,000 cases per day. So that was the baseline. We plateaued at that level. And then we had the surge in February to May. And this reached up to about 10,000 cases per day from 2,000. That was the alpha and the beta surge. So each surge was driven by a new variant. And then after that, we were recovering. So we managed to get it down to about 6,000 cases per day. Then another surge, this time the Delta variant. So it was 2 successive variants came in our country. And this time it increased the cases up to about 26,000. I think that was the peak. So, this was really massive compared to the 2,000 cases we had last year. And now we're down to 700.
For the whole country.
For the whole country.
For the whole country.
Imagine.
This is
we
really good.
We were telling the communities, when did we first say that it was going to downward trend?
Back in September. We were seeing the downward trend
of course,
already.
Again, as usual, nobody believes us anyway. But anyway, so we were seeing that.
Someone does.
But the thing is, the important point is it's not about OCTA being right. It's about the science. It's extolling the science. And that's what we've been trying to say. It's not about OCTA. It's about the science of statistics. It's the science of math and modeling. And that if we follow, the winning formula has to be, we have to follow science. Science is the way forward. And Guido has been extremely, clear about that. It's not about his model or OCTA. It's really about the science, And all models are wrong. Just some models are useful. And apparently, in our case, the model being used by Guido and his team is extremely useful. We're very happy that we were able to contribute to the knowledge of people about COVID. For example, R. For a long time, nobody really used R.
The reproduction number.
Explain that, Guido.
It's the reproduction number. Well, it's used in other countries, but we noticed it wasn't really being used heavily in the Philippines. So we did our own calculations of the reproduction number.
And we had to hammer that concept as a way of making it easy to understand the state of COVID-19 in the country. We didn't invent it. We didn't, we just used it and kept on using it in media. And now it's become the disciplining, a variable that disciplines the discourse as far as media is concerned. The R, they look at the R. When Guido tweets, they understand what R means and the implication if it's going up or down. So as educators, you feel happy that you're able to contribute to that discussion. Are we sometimes in conflict with other educators, other academics? Yes, all the time. Because that's natural in any community. So it's important for us to be always to validate what we say, our models, always expose it to scrutiny of our own colleagues. And that's why we do what we do, and we do it publicly. Meaning, when we say something, our names are there, so we are accountable. And who are we accountable to? And we said this in Congress. We're accountable to the people. We're public school teachers. Our salaries are being paid for. And when they ask us why we're doing it, it's because we need to do it, because it's part of who we are as public school teachers, to provide public service. And in UP, it's even quantified. It's about 20% of your time. So, they couldn't believe it, we're doing this for free. But you know, in UP naman, that's what you're taught. You know, there's certain things you have to do as a public school teacher, and so. You know, it's hard for us to explain to others that there's no monetary benefit to this. But really, I feel the psychological benefits have been good for us, no? It's just been psychological. Though.
What are the psychological benefits
I think we're
to
proud
you?
of what we're doing, you know?
Right.
I mean, we're proud of
I don't know what it's psychological. I have some monetary benefits. He treats me to lunch sometimes, so
He just pays you in lunch.
Yeah. I mean, the benefits of this, I keep explaining to people who don't understand the culture in UP or in UST siguro, that much of the benefit is psychic, you know? Meaning you don't do this because you want to earn money. You do this because you want to contribute to a greater cause. You want to, you know, do something good for the community. You want to make yourself relevant in some sense to the common effort right now. And so those kinds of benefits, I mean, as UP faculty member, is enough for me. Yeah. So I mean, at the moment, I mean that you know, unless of course Guido wants to become a superstar and earn money out of
I think he already is in Twitter.
He is bad.
I thought
you should have
he was.
starting
People
Twitter.
pulling you.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to. Yeah.
But if it looks like this, you guys formed this in 2018. I mean, I don't think COVID was a thing yet. So I think the COVID has kind of. I mean, I'm not saying COVID is good.
It's unfortunate.
It's a totally bad thing. But it kind of like it was a good.
Yeah.
Well, it helped us.
It helped boost your, put you in the national forefront. If there was no COVID, what would you guys be researching on?
I think we would have started really, and that was the goal, was really to start policy research.
Right.
Yeah,
and to do public opinion research. But you see, public opinion research is so expensive. It's so expensive to do a national survey. It is very expensive, and I have to be very honest with everyone that, you know, after we are supposed, you know, after we became known for a COVID research team, a lot of people came over and said, can we help you do your public opinion research? So we have subscribers now. We actually have people who believe in us and subscribe to our surveys. And our surveys...
Yeah, but he's asking what would happen if there was no COVID.
Yeah, we would have been doing the same thing, research. Maybe not as popular as we are now,
Right,
but we would still be doing research. Because that's what
who
we do.
Yeah, that's the mandate of the company.
So, and what were you doing before OCTA Research? Because you said everyone has to give 20% to public service. So what public?
Well, it's not
Hard and fair,
right. It's not required to give 20%, but it's recommended that you give up to 20%. I mean, for example, I had the radio program in which you were my guest, so that was part of my extension service work in UP,
gotcha.
and he is an administrator, so he's that's his public service, so to speak.
Does UP encourage you to do that by giving you an allowance to do that, a budget, or just do it?
Well, it's like a load off, so you get part of your load off for doing it. So instead of, let's say, teaching this much, you get to do this much public service, and that's like the trade-off.
Okay.
Yeah, because the currency is expertise.
Yes.
It's not money. So, it's not necessarily money. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do have to affirm that, the being able to contribute is tremendous. No? As teachers, you want your students to learn. And here, it's the public. And I guess the way that we're consuming information, math, data, has been
communicating it,
and translating it to how does this impact on policy. I think the Filipinos haven't. It's only recently, because of this pandemic, that they've kind of gotten parang a way to talk about things that is not just okay, I got this from media, but really to understand numbers and really have an appreciation for it. And
I mean, sometimes I encounter some people on Twitter, and high school students or college students, and they're inspired to do data science because of what they're seeing. Like, I want to do data science.
Half of our own, you know this because we have emails coming in. Half of our emails are really high school students who are asking, "Can we get this data from you? Can we?" And a fourth will be local government officials asking, "Can we get this?" Because it's for free, and anything for free, you get all of this requests. And so we decided to fashion our reports on a weekly basis really to answer to that request, there's a yearning for data. There's a yearning to get data from credible sources in our country, honestly, and and not just from government. And government, at the start last year, had a particular view about releasing data and configuring data. It was very hard for the regular Filipino to understand that data, and so that same data we just translated, and the important point is communicating it. You have to make it in a way, you have to communicate in a way that people understand it. And it was, honestly, it was very hard, even for us as seasoned teachers, to communicate, to what we call mass communication, to get something out in 20 seconds or less, and try to make something coherent in 20. It's very hard. And so this was also not just an advocacy for us, it was also like an adventure for us, because who would have thought Professor David would become a Twitter sensation? Alam mo yun? Or people have comments about his new hairstyle, no? Because he had big hair before, and then now he has different hairstyles, or even the way the ideas he's been expressing, he says something, and you see the Department of Health coming out with a position paper. We don't agree with this and that. We never saw ourselves that way.
Yeah.
But we still feel that what we're doing is part of our everyday profession, which is to teach. So, it's just a different venue, a different fora, and we had to make adjustments. So this was like an adventure for us also.
And I just want to point out to anyone who's watching this that data science is a very well-paying field.
Yeah, actually it is the next, I don't know what you call it, but it is like the hot item right now. And
right.
I've had people like recruiters, even before the pandemic, coming to me and asking me if I have students or graduates who are doing data science, because they're actually in demand overseas. And this is not just a free plug for data science, but it's actually the truth. So if more people got into data science, it's going to be a lucrative.
It is right now.
Employment for a while. For I don't know until when.
I see no end to it. There's just large companies and large amount of data. Like actuarial, I know that was 1990s, but
right.
Actuarial all the way to data science. Just if you can play with numbers, if you can present numbers in a meaningful way, if you can interpret numbers, obviously, like in the pandemic, it's going to be very valuable whatever field you are, whether you're selling TVs or you're finding out what the chance someone will die.
And this is what the private sector partners are telling us. And we're part of a very big group. It's called Go Negosyo, where we have presidential advisor Joey Concepcion, who's the head of RFM. No?
Yeah.
And we get to meet all these captains of industry, tycoons, and they're all telling us, Octa should, and this is a business show, should evolve into a data analytics company.
Yeah, maybe you should make an offshoot of that.
Yeah, but when we first started, it was really a policy research, public opinion research firm. But data analytics has become.
Maybe you can call it Octa Data. Right? OCTA Research is a non-profit, policy help, and OCTA Data is your data warehouse division.
We could think about that. Yeah, but right now it's just I want to emphasize this point also, that our full-time jobs is really with the University of the Philippines. This is a part-time passion. Yeah.
Actually, when you were talking about giving back, the 20%, actually the biggest thing, maybe especially in your fields that you do, that some people and depends on the field, but the greatest thing you do to give back is just by teaching.
Yeah.
Because I think you are, some people might be foregoing a larger salary in the private sector, right? And I appreciate teachers who do that, and I commend them for that.
Yeah, we're just not good at making money, though. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, but that's a different. That's the first thing you're talking. You don't look at your face.
He's so guilty. Look at his face.
No, it's a way of giving back.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'd like also to say, is it almost? Oh wow. Yeah. Okay, so maybe just a couple more questions. But first, I'd like to make a comment. I'm very thankful that the Philippines has opened up, and I know a lot of it's also because of your research and recommendations, that they opened up in November and December. I think, many businesses make like half their money or more than half their money just
Yeah.
on the burr months.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for the Philippine businesses not to have their 2 burr months in a row, I know many businesses already closed that
Right.
that did, and unfortunately, it's just I guess par for the course for something like this. I mean, maybe some other countries had it worse. I don't know if that justifies things, but anyway, I'm happy that it opened up now, this burr months. So I'm very thankful for that. But then I heard in the news about this new Omicron variant.
Yeah, that's the more important
What,
thing.
what's the impact of that? How do you have any sneak preview what that means?
Well, there's a wide range of possibilities right now, and we're being very transparent here. Right now, I mean, we're surveying what the other scientists and doctors all over the world are saying. So there's still not enough information. They're just really alarmed by the number of mutations of this new variant, the Omicron variant. So they're tracking it, but we're not yet sure about how much more infectious it is, whether it affects the efficacy of the vaccines that we take, and thirdly, if it causes more severe disease. I mean, the best case scenario that I've laid out is this is nothing. This is like the Kappa or the Mu or the Lambda that came in the country, did not really take hold, did not cause any surge, because we had the Alpha, the Beta, and the Delta surge.
So the Delta was the one that was
Yeah,
Delta is a dominant variant
Yeah,
for most of the world right now. But
Right.
what we're basically saying in OCTA, based on what we know, based on the current trends, which we think are going to hold until the end of December or maybe middle part of January, that the outlook is basically positive. So that's what we're saying. What this gradual opening up of the economy and loosening up is not out. It has to happen. It should happen this time. Because what we're thinking about is what we're thinking of is that there won't be any major surge over the next 4 to maybe 8 weeks. That's where, and even if
even if we have a surge, and let's say we're looking at the best case scenario, which is it's really nothing, it's just hype, and the worst case scenario, which is there could be a surge. This variant will manage to get in through our borders, just like Delta did. We're thinking that the vaccines will help mitigate the impact of the surge. It will not be as bad as the Delta surge, so that's what we're thinking. But there might be a surge, and it might come around first quarter of next year. It might even disrupt the campaigning in a way, maybe even as far as the elections is concerned. So that's possibly the worst case scenario. So I've been quoted as some people are
alarmist.
Not alarmist, but they're a bit concerned about this possible scenario. I'm just saying, I explain that this is just one scenario. You have a range of scenarios. There are many others in between. Right now, I mean, to be honest, I don't even want to give a scenario because
People pick the worst case.
Right, because there's a wide range of possibilities, and we don't have enough information to make any conclusion right now. I mean, President Joe Biden of the U.S. said it best. Now, we should not be panicked, but we should be concerned, but we should not panic. So it's not really a cause for panic at this time, but
it's a cause for concern.
But it's a cause, right? It's a cause for concern. So we're taking precautionary measures.
Yes.
We're making our borders more restrictive in a way. We retained alert level 2 because we want to be a little bit more cautious, because without this we might have moved to alert level 1.
But the important point to emphasize is right now the trends which we've been tracking for the last few months tell you one thing, that the outlook is good for the country and for the National Capital Region for most of December. So we're in for a Merry Christmas. Number 2, trends are trends, meaning they're not permanent. So that's what we always say. They can reverse. And not because of Omicron, just simply because people became overconfident, became irresponsible. And so the third thing we emphasize is that what you do as individuals, as citizens actually, is far more important than anything the government does. So just by simply wearing the mask, you're not just protecting yourself, you're not just protecting your family, but you're protecting the community, and you're ensuring that the economy will be open for a much longer time than it has ever been the whole year. So we encourage people to do two things. Wear the mask, because no variant, Omicron or whatever, will match the mask. No? The mask will take care of that. And number two, get yourself vaccinated. I know this is a very big issue. Getting yourself vaccinated is a personal decision. And in our last survey, 22% of adult Filipinos hesitate. Okay, they hesitate because they're not sure about the efficacy or safety of the vaccine. And 5% of that 22% that says they don't want to get vaccinated actually believe that the vaccines can kill you. So we understand that there's a minority out there that don't want to get vaccinated for many reasons. No? But a lot of them are making that decision largely because they don't know, they don't understand, or they're not informed. Okay? So
they're getting fake news.
We're misinformed also. Okay.
Misinformed.
So our goal in OCTA is to try to encourage people to look into this. We're not big believers in mandating. I think mandating vaccines. I think it's a very strong position in our group. But we do believe that vaccines work for the most part, and even with this Omicron variant that's coming in, it will work to some degree. And that's why we're encouraging people to get vaccinated. So yeah, that's our basic position on this issue.
Yeah, vaccination is important because what we're hearing so far is that a large number of cases are vaccinated, but they've come out to be mild cases because of the vaccine.
Now, I'll talk about myself. I got I'm a big advocate of being safe and all, but I got a family member got COVID last September, and I got COVID. And that family member who was not vaccinated suffered really, a moderate case of COVID. And I'm very thankful that he survived and he's okay. But I, on the other hand, who should have experienced a moderate to severe case of COVID.
Yeah, you have more comorbidities, right?
Because I have more comorbidities, no? I have asthma. I suffered a very mild case of COVID. And so that's a testament to the vaccine, and the vaccines do work, okay, and then they will save lives, and we're encouraging people to consider getting themselves vaccinated. The more of us that are vaccinated in this country, and we're down, I think we're around 40%, huh? Yeah, it should be around 40% by this time. That's not enough. We're not where we're supposed to be. The more vaccinated we are, the less likely we are going to be, susceptible or vulnerable to surges, COVID-19 surges, including Omicron.
There's a booster shot now that you need, right?
Yeah, and get your booster shots if you're 6 months. Right. So, yeah, and so that's what we're saying. We want to be less vulnerable in 2022 to COVID-19, whatever the variant. And I think the first step really is to get yourself vaccinated.
You had me at probably nothing.
It's probably.
You had me I have friends and clients and associates who just lost their business. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. And it's not just, and then plus the families of that. And some people put their whole savings in a business.
Yeah.
And so I hope you guys are right and it just keeps opening. I only have one last question. Do you have any other questions?
Go ahead.
This is my last question. You can have a question if you want. But my last question is school. Because, I love my kids and all that. But I think I think they should go to school. I think they should go out there and socialize. I think they're missing those years. I think I see them attend some of their classes. They just watch a YouTube lecture instead of talking to the class. The teacher's talking to a bunch of black screens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then how can you learn with that? You're just watching a video. Right? That's basically it. You're not interacting with anything. You're not getting in the back and forth. There's no reinforcement.
I think, James, we were going towards limited face-to-face, but the reality is this Omicron, this new variant that has taken the world by surprise. No, not that it wasn't expecting a new, but this variant is really a conundrum at the moment. And
but why is that a conundrum? I mean, isn't the
because we don't know much about it. We don't know.
But aren't we really expecting this to really be? Like Father Austria said, this is just going to be a flu. So like the flu, every year there's a.
It's possible, but the more we understand about something, the better we can make adjustments in our plans. But the face-to-face, limited face-to-face classes are now a policy. Okay, so we're going towards that. And I think the only stumbling block is really the vaccination of our kids, of our teachers, the re-engineering of our classrooms. I think we will see more of our students go to face-to-face, or experience face-to-face classes by next year. So it means it's the policy is already set, the program is already set.
So
There's just some challenges at the moment.
So when? Next year?
No, it's happening already.
Yeah, I think
as we
it's
speak.
Yeah, I think it's happening because, well, if it wasn't for the
No, I mean,
Omicron,
let me be clear about it. It's already happening in the K-12 level in certain places around the country. They're pilot testing it already. So definitely already have kids in places where COVID doesn't exist, or is at a very low level. And so, if we can manage and mitigate the COVID-19, we can go back to a new normal where kids go to school. And I think that's where we're headed. But this Omicron thing, as I told you, is something we still don't know what impact it will have.
Could be a stumbling block.
It could be a minor stumbling block, or it could be a major one. We still don't know. But the thing is, the die has been cast and the policy has been set, and so we're going to face-to-face classes sooner than later.
right, because what I'm hearing, I mean, since I'm a university professor, that there are already plans to
At least in UP.
At least in UP. I can't speak for the other schools, but they're already discussing about having these face-to-face classes. It may be more of a hybrid type learning initially, meaning that some days you will go to school, some days maybe it will be virtual. Definitely exams will need to be face-to-face because I don't know how I could administer a virtual examination. But it's already in the talks now. This may be a stumbling block, I mean, as far as the Omicron is concerned. But I don't think, maybe after December, I think we'll have a clear idea. If it's really going to be nothing, then we're just going to march forward. If it's going to be a little something, like a nuisance,
re-engineer and make preparations.
right, we will have to recalibrate, but I think we'll still move forward. And unless it's like balloons into a really nasty problem like the Delta, which I don't think will happen. But I mean, only in that case will I think it will really maybe push back the plans. I mean, and that's just my personal assessment. I mean, don't.
Okay. Well, your personal assessment is being listened to by a lot of people.
Yeah. Even I listen to him,
Yeah.
Okay.
We're listening to you right now. Well, I guess that's it. I know it's past your. Do you have any follow-up questions, Dr. Rachelle?
No, I was just going to ask something silly, like, when is the merch coming out? But no.
The what?
The merch.
Like on OCTA Research T-shirt.
Yeah, well, actually, that's coming out very soon.
I
Okay.
survived the 2020 pandemic.
Yeah.
Are you gonna buy an OCTA Research?
Yeah, we're still debating about OCTA Research, data analytics for winners, or OCTA Research, we suck or something like that. So, it's a toss-up what I logo. Yeah, but definitely the T-shirt will be worn by Professor David during his media outings.
Not if it has your face on it.
Yeah, I know. Vote for. Okay.
No, I lost 2 years of my life thanks to COVID, but all I got was this OCTA Research T-shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then we'll try to see if we can get the merchandising out soon.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're not a regular business, as you know, and so we're still learning by doing. And we're really thankful that you guys invited us.
Yeah.
And that Technomancer is a partner as far as OCTA is concerned.
Thanks for being here. It's very insightful, and we can actually put this on your website. Now, can people ask who the heck are you?
Maybe not. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, thank you, James. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Rachelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Guido. And thanks, Dr. Rachelle. Okay, so that's it. Episode 17. That's a wrap. So, till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.